There we go. All right. Opening comment or questions?
I just thought last week was a good win for us. Anytime that you go on, first of all, you win in your division in this league, it's good. Go on the road and win. I think, we're playing 25 new guys, 17 true freshmen, transfers. Anytime that you can get into that situation, particularly the last couple road games, and no matter how you get out of there, as long as you get out of there with a win, you grow from it. And there are a lot of lessons that can be taught across the board. Offensively, we had some opportunities to take control of the game, turn the ball over a couple times. We've done a pretty good job. It's been a point of emphasis for us this year in turnover margin. So that's really the first week in a while we did not win that battle. And then defensively, first half I thought we played pretty well. We gave up one big play. In the second half, both teams made adjustments. And at the end of the game, we made enough stops to win the game. So anytime you win like that, it's got to be a team effort. And obviously the kick at the end by Lambeau was big, and that's going to give us confidence too going into this week. And we're just looking forward to getting back at home and looking for a big crowd Saturday and a lot of energy back in the building here at Kyle Field at 2:30.
Go to the far right, Gabe.
Coach, how encouraged were you by Floyd Raven's play at safety when DeShazer got hurt?
You have to be real encouraged since I didn't plan on him playing at all. We tried to get through the game without him playing. It was really a borderline thing. He was cleared to play. What did I say he was last week? Probably probable. Mm-hmm. Well, there you go. That was pretty accurate. He was probably probable. He could have played if we needed him to play, and we didn't need him to play. Made a big play on the play-action pass, defended it, which is good. We need to get him back. He's a very talented guy, big and fast, that can help us in a secondary that's had some moving parts. So, like I said, we didn't want him to play. He got in there, did a good job. It gets his confidence back. Does that help us? Yeah, it helps us for this week because we're going to see another offense where eye discipline is going to be the key, particularly on the back end. A lot of gap responsibility, a lot of discipline that you're going to have up front and on the back end where they get their explosive plays from play action or wheels and multiple sets. So, his work a week ago obviously helped him in that game because he saw a little bit of that in the second half and gives us a jump really on this week. So he'll be ready to go.
We'll go Cease down front, then Olin.
Kevin, can you talk a little bit about Laphart going from unknown to star and why this week was he so prevalent in the game?
2 weeks ago, we sat in this room and talked about, and I might have said it a couple weeks ago, this time of year, you're always going to have, if you're going to continue to win, you're going to have guys that play at a high level that maybe before the year you didn't even talk about. And every team across the board, if you're trying to get to double-digit wins, if you're trying to play at a championship level, very few teams are going to have the same 22 guys at the end of the year or even at the middle of the year in this league that across the board, but particularly in this league right now to play. So the guys who haven't played a bunch have to keep preparing the way they've prepared. And Travis has been a guy who is another great story for us and another great story for this team that has worked hard, very hard, non-scholarship player that worked his way into that, started with that, didn't back off once that happened, continued to play and has earned the respect of his teammates. And I think right now, I know for a fact, 4 weeks ago, our quarterback felt as comfortable with him as anybody. And so when he went into the game, for him to have the type of success he had is a surprise to a lot of people, but not guys on the team, because he practices like that and he catches a lot of balls that way. So, I'm happy for him, just like I'm happy for Josh. For everybody else outside 5 weeks ago, these guys are unknowns. But we've had a few of those here in the last couple of years. And what I think what it does is it gives it really gives an example to the other players that hey, you know what? As long as you keep working, as long as you do the things we ask you to do, the coaches, and you get the trust of your teammates and the coaching staff, we're going to put you in and give you your opportunity. And I think that helps the competition during the week. It also helps, the place not to be stale, where just the same guys get out there and play all the time, no matter what. We'll put somebody in there. And fortunately, the guys that we've made the changes with, because we've had a few changes this year across the board on defense, and due to injury or not, but those guys have really taken that challenge and really helped us, particularly in the last couple of weeks.
Olin, and then we'll come down to Brent.
Kevin, I'm sorry if this sounds like a dumb question, considering y'all have scored over 40 points every game. But do y'all feel like your offense now is running at peak level and peak performance? And if not, what can y'all do better?
We can, we put a big emphasis, like I said, on turnover margin and being able to hang on the ball. And we've done better. We can get better. We got a lot of guys playing, a lot of guys touching the ball. So, that's a work. And I think you talk to Clarence, he'll tell you what the big preaching point is: first downs and touchdowns. And we've done a pretty good job of that, I think. We've got to cut down on penalties, and that's something we've been talking about the last 3 or 4 weeks. We offensively and defensively, we've got to get better in that area. But I think overall, what we're asking our guys to do, they're trying to do it. And as long as you see that as a coach, they're listening.
Down front, Brent.
When you inherited this roster, what were your first impressions of Labhart? And was he playing on defense at that point? Or?
I don't know.
Right, exactly. I kind of thought that might be your answer. And what caused you to maybe first notice him?
We just put him out there and threw him the ball. So I don't know if he's on defense before we got here or not. I'm be honest with you, we was ran out there and he was playing offense. So he may have been. I don't know. That probably doesn't sound very good for him, but we had a lot of other issues when I got here besides whether Travis was playing offense or defense. So he's worked his way into it, and it's like I said, it's a great story for him. We've got a couple guys like that we awarded scholarships to preseason. We've got a couple other guys that are right on the edge of that are playing a lot, and I think it keeps the competition level up. When you're talking about a guy who's really the true 12th man that walks on here and earns his way onto the team, and goes in an SEC game and is one of the offensive players of the week on a game on the road on national television at night. Shoot, it doesn't get any bigger than that. For a guy that didn't have a scholarship. And so, like I said, I think the big thing out of it is it just goes to show everybody in this room, whether you're the highest recruited guy or a guy who just showed up and said, hey, I want to play football at Texas A&M, if you work at it, and your effort's going to be recognized, and if you're a good player, you're going to be able to play.
We'll go to the back and then Christy.
Coach, can you talk a bit about the targeting penalties and the evolution of that through the season? The first game, DeShazier gets ejected, but you've seen other teams that you played against kind of go back there in their favor. How do you feel about that this new penalty and the way it's being played out this season?
Everybody's got an opinion about it. You know, whenever there's a new rule and there's a rule change, there's always going to be some issues. I think it'd probably be safe to say it's going to be revisited after the year. It is what it is right now, and you have to coach through it. You see things, and you ask yourself why this happens or why that happens, and you know that's all part of the game. Every penalty is everybody's going to have an opinion on it, one way or the other. I think the procedure to the rule is what is questioned. You know, if a guy's ejected and then he's ruled no, he's not ejected, but the penalty stays, I think there's some real confusion by the fans and the players, and it's been explained a couple times, and even at the beginning of the year by coaches, in the fact that after that happens, it's not reviewed. So, you know, it happened to us early in the year, and there's no appeal to it. So, you know, we've coached around it. Tried to talk to our guys about where that target area is, but things happen so fast. It's a difficult position to put the official on the field in, and that's why you have replay. But I think the question is going to be, no doubt, we understand what we're trying to do here, and it's all about player safety. But I think the procedure at the end is probably going to be revisited probably at the end of the season, just because of the confusion that, you know, the penalty stands, but it wasn't a penalty, but it is, and I think that's the frustration of a lot of people.
Over to the right, Christy.
When Cam Newton played at Auburn and people thought he was like a once-in-a-lifetime player, now Johnny's come here and same could be said for him. Do you see any similarities between the two of them and what they've done?
They won a Heisman. No, not really. I don't compare players, quarterbacks, whether I've coached them or not. They're different people, different times, and you know, they're both very, very good, impactful players. So I don't you know, one guy's 6'6", 250. They're two different guys.
We'll go to the back, Chip, and then Rusty.
Kevin, what's the biggest difference you see in this year's Auburn team versus the one you prepared for a year ago?
They're 5-1.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
And they're ranked 24th in the country. So that's very different than the team we played last year. And they've got a lot of energy. In some respects, it's a little bit like where we were last year. They've got a new coach. They got new energy. They've got good players. They're playing with a lot of confidence. Gus does a great job schematically. You know, Ellis Johnson is a veteran defensive coordinator. The kids believe in what they're doing. Got a great punter, one of the best punters in the country. He's going to be a Ray guy. Probably a finalist, semifinalist. Already returned, you know, they've returned kick for 100 yards. They're playing very, very well. And they've won some close games, gained some confidence. They've been at home a lot. But, you know, there's it might be a lot of the same guys, but it's a completely different football team from an attitude standpoint. And I think that shows up in not only their record, but their approach to the game on Saturday.
Rusty.
Coach, can you talk about DeShazier? I mean, we all saw him on the bike and backpedaling over there. Was he available, or were we just holding him out for precautionary reasons?
Are you serious? You think I'm going to?
I had to ask anyway. Is he probably probable?
He's probably probable for this year.
Well, then one other question I have for totally different. Josh Lambo, can you talk about how much trust this team has in him and your decision to set up for that field goal and let the time kind of tick?
Well, you guys asked me about it. You know, what does that do for the team's confidence? I think that was the question. And, you know, it's not about the team's confidence it's his confidence. And, you know, he has demonstrated over the last couple of weeks that I think the exact question was 2 weeks ago, he made all his extra points. You know, what does that mean? That means that he's getting more confident. He missed one early, came back and made one, and there was no doubt. You know, I didn't we didn't hesitate with what our plan was, and to get inside there, Jeff Banks gives me I have a card in my pocket that has wind direction and the yard line that Coach Banks feels comfortable with our kickers kicking, whichever way we're going. So he had given me the 33, which would make that a 50-yard field goal. I was not quite comfortable with the 33-yard line, so we kept running the ball, and so it got a little bit better. But that tells you something, though. Pre-game, when those decisions are made for us before the game, and then you react after it. But when the 33-yard line is the discussion, and he said it without hesitation when we sit there right before we come off the field and before we go back out, and whether the wind is there or not. And then at halftime we have the same discussion, and when he said 33, that tells you kind of confidence that he had before the game. So the inside the 20 was I felt a little bit better than the 33-yard line.
We'll go down Sam and then Kate.
Kevin, the first BCS standings will come out on Sunday. What are your thoughts on the coaches poll playing a role in that?
I don't know. I think I'm a part. Me, Sam. I've been a part of the coaches poll. I gave it up one year since they made them public at the end, and a bunch of people ripped me, so I didn't vote the next year. I've been fortunate to be back on it. I don't know. I think as you get closer, as you go down the road, I don't understand. I think the coaches poll is a good poll. I think the problem is you have a bunch of preseason polls, and because of the preseason polls, a lot of teams benefit from it. A lot of teams don't, and it's guys moving up and down out of the poll based on a preseason poll. You had a team a year ago start the year preseason number 1, and at the end of the year they weren't even in it. And then you had another team playing a national championship game, amazingly, which is the first time it's happened, start without being in the preseason poll and get to the national championship game. That very rarely happens. There's got to be a special set of circumstances. So I don't know that the poll is that big a deal. It's a big deal, but in my opinion, there probably shouldn't be a poll until this week.
And how, as a coach, I know obviously you probably talked to others, that how much time and effort do you actually get to put into it on a weekly basis?
You do. We have. It's different. I'm a little bit. I think David Shaw said it best last year. You don't get to see everybody. We get to see a lot of football. We're playing at the same time other people are playing. And during the day I get to see some games. Depends on what time you play. We played 7:30 last week. I got to see a bunch of guys. Bye week, got to see some people. 2:30, based on your schedule of getting to the stadium 2 hours before at noon, you don't see anybody. We'll play till 5:30, 6 o'clock. By the time media is over with, I might see the second half of that night game. So, you got to rely on highlights, and the highlights can be skewed a little bit and not watch the whole game. So you try to get it, you do the best you can, and try to rely on the information from AC. Does a great job, and Justin Moore, guys that get a chance to get their feedback in there. But as a coach, you don't get to see everybody play.
Kate.
Hey, Coach, what do you credit the team's composure to at the end of games? I'm sure Johnny has something to do with it, maybe having been in close situations, falling behind late before, but also, the defense gets the 3 and out when they need it the most. How do you build that in a team?
I don't know. I would just say, we put guys in those situations all the time. And we try to, you can't simulate the pressure that's in those situations all the time, but we take time to show other teams. As a matter of fact, a week ago, after the bye week, I talked about watching a couple different situations at the end of the games and how guys closed them out and how guys didn't. And I think our guys learned visually, they learned by practice, but all the ways that you can show guys, what to do and how not to be that guy is what we talk about. You know, you showed things in here a bunch that and you just hear the players go, oh man, and they're laughing. And you know, the whole goal is for you not to be in that position. And you know, we had a number of situations there that that fell our way, but we also, you know, had enough timeouts. We had enough time left that you know, we were going to be able to operate, and I think our guys are comfortable in that situation. And quite frankly, the way we play offense, you know, people have said, well, you don't use a lot of your timeouts. The way we're in hurry up all the time. So we're probably a little more comfortable in a 2-minute situation than many teams because we don't change our offense. You know, we're going to be able to substitute. We're going to be able to do a lot of different things. You know, the average is, what are we at, 20 seconds of play? So you can do the math. You know, there's a couple minutes left. If we get a first down, the clock stops, but we're going to get, you know, 8 plays. And that's a lot of plays in 2 minutes.
Follow up?
Sorry, well, just real quick. Also, we talked about Labhart, and he has a great story, and some other guys, Kennedy and Walker, they were big Saturday too. Our defense is really trying to put extra effort on shutting down Mike Evans, and those guys have to step up.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of what we do. I think last year you saw, you know, you saw Malcolm Kennedy come on in the second half. I think you see that at a lot of different teams. If you continue to win, you have to. You know, there's a bunch of good players in this league and a bunch of good coaches. They're not going to let you just do the same thing every week. And in order to do that, you're going to have other people help you. And, you know, Travis did a great job. I think Darrell Walker continues to get better. Malcolm has come to be a go-to guy. And Malcolm Kennedy's having picked up where he left off the second half of the season, where we had the same questions last year. You know, we know Ryan Swope could play. Who is this Malcolm Kennedy guy? And he just got better and better. So that's about right. And we need to continue to develop some of these young guys. You know, Pope is coming along a little bit. He's going to have to keep stepping up and making plays. And, you know, obviously our running backs have been fine. Defensively, it's the same thing. You know, we've had some rotation back there in the back end, but Darian Claiborne continues to get better. Jenkins is getting back into the flow and making plays, but you know, we forced Isaiah Golden onto the field now, and he's got to come on along with these other guys that are backup guys. That's just the nature of the game, and you know, like we talk about in here, we're no different than anybody else in this league. There's a bunch of teams across the board right now that have injury problems, but that doesn't deter from your goal at the end of the week, and that's to win the game.
We'll go here, James, and then Suzanne.
Coach, how do you
Yeah.
How do you feel the familiarity of playing a spread offense like Auburn helps your defense? Doesn't they see something like that every day in practice?
We're two different teams, so they don't see anything like us, and we don't see anything like them when we go against each other. I think, you know, somebody asked me, and I think everybody lumps spread teams into the same thing. I think Nick said it best before they played, who'd they play a couple weeks ago? Before they played Ole Miss. I think Nick said it best. He said this is Ole Miss and A&M are two completely different offenses. So, you know, when we go against each other, it's nothing similar.
Suzanne?
Hey, Kevin, with your offense averaging 48 points a game, can you afford to let your defense continue to struggle, or is there a little bit of heat on them?
We don't want to afford anybody to struggle, offensively or defensively.
Well, then, is there a little bit of frustration level at midseason that they're allowing 32 points a game?
Frustration level would be not the word to use. We're trying to get better. When you're playing 11 freshmen, and you see things getting a little better every week, that's one thing. If you don't see any improvement at all and you get the same problems, and then you make a step and then you get an injury here, you make a step and then this guy's out, you go here and then you lose your nose guard, you got the Shazer, arguably two of your better players, to start the year out of the game. That's one part. So, you know,
All right.
it's a team game, and our job as coaches is to try to win the game, no matter what the conventional way is. Our job is to try to win. So if we're not playing very good defense, we've got to do something special teams, and we've got to do something offensively to win the game, and not make excuses about where we are from a talent-wise, because I think talent-wise, you know, we've got some good young players. We got, thank goodness, we got the depth that we have based on the injuries, but they're young, and you know, they're probably a year or two away. You know, but as a team, you have to understand and play the game that way, and not say, well, this is a problem, so I guess this one's over with.
We'll go to the back, Daryl.
If that's your question, because that's what it sounded like.
Your defense is young, and the fact that you all are scoring 48 points a game, you can give them a little bit more time to develop. But at what point does it get a little bit antsy on your part that you guys keep scoring on 50 points a game? Sometimes you don't get.
What did we score last year?
There we go.
There's your answer.
Daryl Bruffett, and then over to the right, Gabe.
Coach, on Saturday night, you guys played kind of the late game in the SEC. Saturday, you played the 2:30 game on CBS, which is normally the marquee game. Your guys like that position, like being in the limelight and that thing?
I think so. I think you know, it's what you want as a program. I think it's great for our fans. I think it's great for the university. You know, you get the 2:30 game. I think it was is a marquee game. So, you know, it's to be back at home and it be at 2:30 is even better. That 7:30 night game, you know, I'm not complaining. ESPN, it makes it a little difficult when you get home at 4 o'clock in the morning. So, you know, that's part of it, and our guys are understanding that. And like I told them before the week, we talk about this all the time. Well, we get back home at 4. Look, the price of trying to be the program that you want to be is being on television all the time. And if that's where you are, then that's a good thing. You can go back to the days where you're not on television at all, and nobody wants that. So our guys get that. They like it, and it's a chance for them because they work very hard in the off season, work during the week, for them to be able to show, you know, who they are and what they're about to the world. And I think it's great exposure, not just for football, but for our athletic program and for our university.
To the far right, Gabe, and then Brent, you'll finish us up with Coach.
Coach, how much fun was that 18-yard run by Trey Williams? And I'm sure it got rave reviews in the effort tape.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of people involved in that. I think I don't know how many people he made miss, but that's, you know, we talked a week ago about him. I think, you know, Trey was hurt during 2 days. We got that ankle stung again on the kickoff, and you know, against Rice didn't play much. He felt better against Alabama. He gets tackled on the opening kickoff, twisted again. You know, it's been some time for him to be healthy. And I said maybe a week ago he's starting to feel pretty good because you could see it at practice. So, you know, he's back at full speed. And, you know, things work just like we have guys who are getting nicked up right now. We had some guys at the beginning of the season that had a couple injuries. And so, you know, things like that kind of work themselves out. You know, early in the year when Ben was going and Trey Carson's going and Brandon's going, you know, where's Trey Williams? Well, he was probably probable. So now he's back to full strength, and you know, there's only one football. So we got some guys that can do some things with the ball, and we try to get it to him, and he's playing at a really high level right now.
Last one here, Brett.
Last year you had talked about Trey needing to improve his blocking and becoming a more complete back. Has he done in that? And then the second part is, when Mike Evans leaps through that air, that was spectacular. Is that something you encourage, or you say, hey, Mike, maybe stay on the ground, or what's your reaction to that?
After he got up and was healthy, I told him that was a great job. Just don't do that again. But you know, you guys talked about the effort tape. You know, yesterday we watched a bunch of different things, and I think there are 3 real plays at the end of the game that were indicative of where this team is. And you know, Johnny's run on 4th down, where he just accelerated into the middle of the defense, and you know, just people flying everywhere, just shows what kind of where's his heart and his head is trying to win the game. Took a look real quick to the side to see where the chains were and just went for it. Didn't slide. I was like, you know, wow. And you go a play later, you know, Ben Molina, we're throwing the ball to Mike Evans. He's taking off down the field on a shallow route, which is 4 yards. Knows the time on the clock, knows that we got timeouts. We just talked about it. Instead of running out of bounds, he's going to go try to score. And it's just wild, just over the top. And you know, so, and even Trey Carson's run at the end where we got, you know, a 2-back set and power, and it's 3rd and 1, and we get 9. And he almost runs through the whole thing. I mean, so you had a number of people at that point that were not playing to lose or just playing to do some things. You had some guys that were going after the win. And you know, like I said, that's contagious to everybody. And as much as you don't want certain things to happen, I think what makes those guys who they are and where this team's attitude is headed, you don't want to stifle that. And because that's an example to everybody else. Hey, look, we're going for this thing. And no, I don't like a 6'5" guy to go up in the air in the middle of the. Yeah, I'm not big on that. But you know what? He's playing with great effort, just like he does all the time, and he's a great example to the rest of the team. He's gotten a lot better. You know, it's his protection has improved. He's paid attention to detail. I think just like most guys from high school, where they just handed it to him. You know, he didn't have to worry about protection. He didn't have to worry about blocking. And you know, the question I covered last year, he didn't play in the LSU game because of the complexity of the defense. And you know, they're an odd front and guys coming from different places, and he never really paid that much attention. And a missed block in that game, you know, you let Mingo or one of those guys come loose and hit Johnny in the back of the head, that's not a good situation. So, you know, that was the trade-off. If you can't be out there, and everybody says, well, why didn't you just play him when it was a running down? Well, we do change the play sometimes. And so, you know, to be able to change it, you know, he couldn't be in there. He has gotten better. We've explained that to him. I think his protection has really picked up. I think his ability to see defenses and understand what the defense is trying to do has improved. And you know, he's always been a very talented guy with his hands, a screen guy, and doing some things. So the more that he can be, as he has become an every down back, even with his size, you know, he's 185, 190 pounds, but not a real big guy, but he's pretty strong. But the more he can be an every down back, the more efficient he can be, instead of just being a guy that runs out there and we either throw screens to or hand it to. He's gotten a lot better in his protection. And is he there yet? No, but we're a lot more comfortable with him.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.